When you're first starting, it's okay to use adhesive, but let's talk about that. You don't want to use too much too soon, and you don't want to interfere with your healing process. I have my little visual aid. It's a toy teeth. Okay, so now we've had our extractions. These holes left behind from teeth removal will be stitched up. When your teeth are extracted, you'll get clots to fill these holes. You'll get stitches. You don't want denture adhesive to pull those clots out or pull those stitches loose. So if you need to use a little adhesive on your top denture, just put a little spot right here on the palate, away from those stitches, away from those clots healing in your mouth, a little bit on the top. Now what you're seeing in this denture was a soft reline my dentist had done. If you go in for adjustments and they do a reline, you can still use adhesives. Give it a good 24 hours before you mess with it so it can cure up. But a little spot of adhesive that'll make contact with your palate may help hold that denture in for you. It's a lot harder to use adhesive on your bottom denture when you're still healing because of the way they fit. These are 2 samples of lower dentures. If you put adhesive in the trough on the lower denture, and you put the denture in your mouth, you're putting that adhesive right on those extraction sites. So unfortunately, you may not be able to use adhesive with your lower denture until your extraction sites heal up and your stitches come out. Depending on the shape of your lower denture, you might be able to get a little bit of adhesive on the sides. Just be careful when you use adhesive those first few times because you don't want to get adhesive into these extraction sites and you don't want the adhesive to pull out your stitches. One of the most readily available denture adhesives is paste adhesives, the kind that come in the tubes. They all have their pros and cons, and you're going to have to kind of play around to see what works best for you. The fix-it products, the ones with zinc, tend to have a little more grip. When you are first starting, try a store brand. You don't want that strong hold because remember, your gums are tender. You don't want to have to pry your dentures out. You don't want to have to worry if you're making contact with the extractions. So if you need to try a little adhesive, limit yourself to your top denture and just put that little blob right where it'll contact the palate. A powder denture's a good alternative to try, but it's harder to control where it spreads, especially when you first start using adhesive. There's another adhesive option, it's strips. I don't recommend strips when you first get your denture because they make contact with a big surface area. This is what the Seabond looks like. You moisten it, it goes into the denture and it makes a lot of contact. You don't want that because you don't want it to make contact with your stitches. There's a Seabond for upper dentures, but same thing. It makes a lot of contact and you don't want that when you're first healing and using adhesives. So if you aren't already dealing with enough challenges, I have another adhesive challenge for you. Don't use too much. When you first start using denture adhesive, there may be a temptation to use a lot. There's that urge to get that all-day hold. But with denture adhesive, like mini glues, and denture adhesive is a kind of glue, sometimes, maybe many times, less is more. If you use a lot of a paste, or even the powder, and you put your dentures in, it oozes out, you get it in your mouth. Try using a small amount. Once your extraction sites heal up and you can use adhesive on your bottom dentures if you need it, try spreading a little bit with a Q-tip. Too much, not only does it ooze out, but then you have to pry the darn things out sometimes, and that's very annoying. Or you're left with residue on your gums, also annoying. So play around with it. There's a lot to learn about using denture adhesives, but you learn pretty quickly. Have a little trial and error. How you put it in, how much you put in. Just be careful those first few days, first week or two when you're still healing. I hope your denture journey is going well, and I hope we talk again soon. There is one exception to using the least amount of adhesive possible: vampire fangs. Today is getting close to Halloween when I'm making this video, so I pulled out my fangs. These are just a silicone rubbery thing I got at a party supply store. One of the few advantages of dentures is I can take them out, goop these up, stick them in my mouth, and scare the kids coming for Halloween candy. Wahahaha. This is how they look on top of my dentures. Blah.